Frankfurt Zoo is the home of two rare lions. Joy and Juna were born to Mother Kiri and Father Hesse after a 109-day-long pregnancy. It was only the third such birth in Germany. Zookeeper Hans-Jörg Kehrer says the Indian lion is a highly endangered animal, and only 300 are still alive at the Indian Gir Forest Reservation, and 8 of them have been brought to German zoos. Indian lions have previously been born at zoos in Berlin and Cologne. Joy was named in honor of author Joy Adamson, who raised baby lion Elsa in Kenya. Joy's brother Juna was named after the Indian city of Junagadh, close to the home of the Indian lion. As is typical for predators, Juna was born one day after his sister Joy. Mother Kiris's first baby was born dead. It is late afternoon at the Taita Ranch in southwestern Kenya. The ranch is located between two national parks, Tsavo East and West. While the thorny trees make perfect hiding places for animals, they make it difficult for visitors to view the wildlife. But these people won't give up easily. They've come from all over the world in search of the legendary man-eating lions of Tsavo. It's not just their tendency to attack humans that makes these lions unique. They look quite different from other lions. The males either have no mane or relatively small ones. They are also extremely possessive and do not accept the presence of other males in their pride. Other lions do not readily attack buffaloes. These ones are aggressive enough to do so. Bruce Patterson, an American biologist, heads a team of researchers that are observing the Tsavo lions. And tracking the Tsavo lions is a daily routine. He says the lions are constantly crossing into human-dominated areas, and in those areas cause great havoc and tragedy. One best-selling book and 2 feature films, including The Ghost in the Darkness starring Michael Douglas, have cemented their fierce reputation. In 1896, 135 railroad workers were killed by lions. Back then, no one could explain the attacks. All they knew was that the killers had no manes. The descendants of the infamous man-eaters have continued to terrorize communities living in and around Tsavo. John Lakota and other cattle herders have lost 3 cows to lions recently, and the cows are valued at around $500. For people living on less than $1 a day, it's a considerable loss. In recent years, the lions have also killed 4 people, and now the cattle herders of Tsavo are eager to eliminate them. Samuel Kasiki, a Kenyan biologist, is a member of this research team. His main role is to interact with Tsavo's human community. The dialogue has highlighted a growing problem. Samuel highlighted the conflict between man and beast by saying the number of lions in this area will continue to go down because people will continue poisoning and killing them. It's very difficult to get them because they know what they are doing is illegal. Patterson, Kasiki and the team of volunteers work under constant pressure. Observing lions in this environment requires a great deal of patience and cleverness. The desperate cries of a baby buffalo from a mini-disc are meant to attract the big cats. And just before midnight, 6-year-old Romeo finally comes out of his hiding place. He is the star of Taita Ranch. He weighs an impressive 170 kilograms, has wide shoulders. Unfortunately, he hasn't brought his usual harem of 5 females with him. He's been wearing a tracking collar for a while now. The $3,000 device records Romeo's movements through a satellite relay. Their abnormal aggressiveness could be caused by very high levels of testosterone. Soon the scientists will remove Romeo's collar. They will map out his wanderings, keeping a special eye on any forays into human territories. And soon, the researchers hope to understand and explain what makes these lions so different. Then, man and lion may have reasons to make peace. Florida is a common wintertime haven in the United States, but for some 3,000 West Indian manatees, an animal that looks something like an overgrown seal, and whose closest land relative is an elephant, it is not always warm enough, and so they succumb to frostbite. While sunbathers may find refuge in Florida in the wintertime, once the water drops below 68 degrees, manatees are at risk of frostbite, which causes their skin to fall off, eventually leading to death. Unlike dolphins or seals, manatees do not have many layers of fat and carry weight more akin to humans. It is not just the weather that can pose a threat to manatees. They are often struck by boats, are crushed in canal locks, swallow fish hooks, are caught in crab trap lines, or come down with a virus called red tide. Manatees have been declared an endangered species since 1973. About 8% of the manatee population is lost each year. Within the United States, West Indian manatees are concentrated in Florida in the winter, but they can be found in summer months as far west as Texas and as far north as Virginia. On average, they are about 3 meters long and weigh between 362 and 544 kilograms. The state of Florida has 3 official critical care units to treat injured manatees, including a facility at the Lowry Park Zoo in Tampa, Florida. Last year, the Lowry Park facility treated some 17 injured manatees. The idea is to treat them and then release them. To date, the hospital has cared for more than 125 manatees. Manatees with frostbite need to be fed a combination of vitamins and antibiotics through their nose at least once a day. Their skin is cleaned and treated with a mixture of iodine. Approximately 85 to 90% of those surviving the first 48 hours have recovered and been successfully released back into the wild. At the Lowry Park Zoo, it costs $300 a day just to feed the manatees, and they eat more than half of the zoo's $10 million budget. Initially, manatees are kept in small treatment pools and then later are moved to a larger pool with a glass viewing centre as a final testing ground before they are ready for release. The caretakers at Lowry Park simply treat the animals, making no effort to befriend them. Manatees can live up to 60 years old. On average, one calf is born every 2 to 5 years. The gestation period about a year, and mothers nurse their young for 1 to 2 years. The Arctic's favourite predator, the polar bear, is having some serious climate adjustment problems in hot and humid Singapore. The enormous bears have turned green because of algae growing in their translucent hair shafts. "26-year-old Sheba and her 13-year-old son Inuka have received treatment for the fungus growth. Sheba's coat was sprayed clean with a hydrogen peroxide solution. Now she is a bleached white compared to the blemished and green Inuka. The bears seem hardly affected by their new colour as they continue to stroll around in their enclosure, occasionally taking a dip in the water. The zoo said the enclosure for the sea ice-loving creatures was specially built to suit them, consisting of air conditioning ducts and a pool area kept at a temperature of 14 degrees Celsius. Francis Lim, Senior Assistant Curator of Zoology at the Singapore Zoological Gardens, says the bears were infected by algae on a log that they were playing with. As they rubbed on these logs, some of the algae actually got transferred onto the fur and flourished because of the climate. Polars look white because they reflect light on their translucent hair shafts. Ecologists warn that with global warming, the polar bear could become extinct within 100 years. This 16-foot python has found shelter in a private home at a village in western Kenya. The snake, named Onwiri, is believed by the residents to bring good luck. Frogs and rats are trapped to feed Onwiri, while chickens and even loaves of bread are purchased locally to keep the snake happy. Unmoved by the huge crowd of onlookers, the snake occasionally leaves its massive eggs in the sun, slithering around on the parched ground. The owner of the compound where the snake was found follows behind it, occasionally pouring water to cool it down. School children from nearby schools are coming in droves to see the snake. The large volume of people turning up has led to a perimeter fence being erected and a team of 9 youths hired to maintain order. At one point, there was even talk of policemen being deployed to keep order. After a few hours in the sun, the snake slithers leisurely past the crowds and returns to the eggs, which are protected under a makeshift shelter. John Gamizi, a village elder, is in charge of the team watching over the snake. He says people should not touch it, and it will stay here until it's ready to leave. Small stores serving bananas and soft drinks have opened as business people seek to exploit curious persons coming from all over to see the snake. This lady and her family had just arrived after walking for hours in the blazing heat just to see Omwiri. The local Lao people now hope that this will bring them good luck and that their dry spell is over and they will get good rains for an eventual bumper harvest. This baby chimpanzee, Farahi, is proving to be a delightful favourite at Sydney's Taronga Zoo, where he puts on a cute show for visitors. It hasn't taken baby Harari long to settle into life with his family at Taronga Zoo. He's still a little unsteady on his feet, but Ferrari was hanging about with his mother Kuma in the sunshine. Taronga has 16 chimpanzees. Fifi is the oldest at 54 years. She's also the most respected female of the group, having raised 10 young of her own. Chimpanzees are known to be our closest living relatives. Like us, they communicate through gestures and facial expressions. Chimpanzees are intelligent animals that use tools to obtain food and teamwork tactics to hunt prey. Led by a dominant male, family groups travel during the day and build nests to sleep in at night. These two baby leopards are part of the rarest subspecies of leopards known as armor leopards, thought to be nearly extinct in the wild. The twin leopard cubs, a boy and a girl, were born as part of a captive breeding program which is carefully coordinated to maintain genetic diversity. The cubs' parents, Lena and Negus, were donated to Tierpark Zoo from the Moscow Zoo, and this was their first successful mating. The leopard, once common throughout Africa and Asia, is now under threat from hunting and loss of habitat. The armor leopard, the rarest of the subspecies, originates from the region of southern Siberia near Vladivostok, encroaching the borders of China and North Korea. The subspecies have a denser fur, an adaptation needed to survive the harsh climates found in the Siberian region, where winter temperature can fall as low as minus 30 degrees centigrade. Due to hunting and the conversion of land for commercial farming, there are not many Amur leopards left in the wild. The figure is thought to be around 40. The leopards are hunted for body parts used in Chinese medicine and sometimes killed by farmers protecting their livestock. Captive populations, however, now number over 200 and are found in zoos and wildlife parks around the world. Foot and mouth disease is one of the most infectious diseases known to man. Carried in the air, it can be spread mechanically by the movements of animals, people and vehicles that have been contaminated. How far it spreads is often determined by weather and landscape. Cattle, sheep and pigs are most likely to pick up the disease, but other exotic animals with cloven hooves in zoos and wildlife parks are also at risk. Animals lose weight, stop producing milk and abort fetuses. Although the infection usually runs its course in less than a month, it can take animals up to 2 years before they are fully recovered. Vets say there is no effective vaccine. Vaccinated animals can even act as carriers. Rejected by his mother, declared a mutant by his vet, and adored by his owner, Whipper the Budgie certainly gets a reaction from anyone who lays eyes on him. Not surprisingly, really, when you consider his extraordinary plumage, stunted wings, and bizarre attempts at whistling like a bird. And while Whipper is not likely to win Best in Show at any ornithological fashion parade, he has made fans and admirers of anyone in the small New Zealand town of Winton who has laid eyes on him. Whipper's mother, though, was unable to appreciate Whipper's unique curls and whirls. According to his owners, she threw him out twice, and the second time, it was too risky to leave him in the cage.